Hello, welcome back to another live event right here on the Total OS Today Technology channel. Total technology for beginners and beyond. Everybody's welcome with these live events, whether you are a Windows user, Linux user, Mac user, whatever user. Welcome to the live stream. This is just a hangout. It'll be a short one, excuse me, for this evening. I think for tonight, what we'll do is we'll take a listen to one of the Ubuntu podcasts from last week, may have been a week before. I listen to these occasionally. This one was kind of funny. I think it's something that we all can enjoy, whether you are into technology or not. They picked up some news topics, somewhat a little bit of nonsense news that I thought that we can enjoy. So we'll wait for someone to jump on the live stream to say hello. Once again, this is just a random live chat, a hangout with Total OS Today. So thank you for stopping by. If you miss any of this, you can replay this streamcast at your leisure, or if you wish, you can download the audio version of this when it becomes available soon on the Patreon page. For TOS Today. All the links will be below in the show notes. And don't forget also to check out ubuntupodcast.org. And for tonight, yeah, there I am. I did set up my webcam. What's up? So we'll see if anybody jumps on. Looks like the stream looks good on my end. Okay, very good. Alright, so we'll give this a few minutes. Ubuntu Mate continues to impress. That's what I use on my other machine. This one I'm using Linux Mint Mate, as you see here. Reliable, stable, perfect for beginners, and really for anybody. So if you are curious about Linux and or a beginner, check out Linux Mint or Ubuntu Mate. For this recording, I am using Linux Mint Mate and OBS Studio, Open Broadcaster software. That's also available for Windows. And this is my setup here. Nothing fancy, simple, just to give you guys a look at what I use. There are some tutorials on YouTube on how to use this. It does take some getting used to, but it's not that difficult. Not at all. And it's free. So let me check my phone here real quick. Okay, just going through my messages real quick here. Alright, so we'll get started here in about a minute. Hopefully someone will jump on. Again, this was unscheduled, random live chat. So what do you guys listen to? Any podcasts at all? Usually this, ubuntupodcast.org I listen to, and occasionally mintcast.org, and sometimes I'll check out Destination Linux here on YouTube, a weekly Linux podcast. Not really for beginners, but if you know something about Linux or have been messing around with Linux for years, certainly something that you can enjoy, really with all three of the podcasts. The Ubuntu podcast is more random stuff, you know, some technology stuff, Linux stuff, and some funny news items. Excuse me. I just came back from having coffee with a friend of mine. Beautiful night here in Ohio. 73 degrees for this time of year is terrific. Not complaining at all. This is Florida weather in Ohio for mid-September, and it feels awesome. Okay, so we're going to get started. Whoever joins in the live chat, please do say hello. Once again, if you miss any of this, you can replay this here on YouTube, or just go to the Patreon page if you want to support the channel. And for that, you can download the audio version of this as my thank you. So I'm going to mute my mic, and we're going to get started listening to some, not all, but some of the Ubuntu podcast, I believe last week. And let's go do that now. So I will mute my mic. So give me a moment to set this up. Interceptor just joined in. Yes, there is a Mint podcast that you can listen to. Go to mintcast.org. It used to be weekly, then they went bi-weekly. Now it's once a month or whatever schedule. It's kind of weird as far as their podcast goes. Ubuntu podcast, I believe, is weekly, but the mintcast.org, I guess now it's once a month or twice a month. They do record live, and then you can catch it on the mintcast.org. They're fairly long podcasts, usually about an hour and a half or longer, a bit long, but it's technology stuff, usually concerning Mint, Linux Mint. Not all the time. I don't think they have any usually special guests or anything like that, Interceptor. But yeah, check it out if you have the time. Like I said, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Mintcast, UbuntuPodcast.org, and then Destination Linux. Then of course the ones that I do. But that's about it. So yeah, you are quite welcome. Okay, so we have Interceptor in the house. Thanks for stopping by. I have a grandiose audience of one, but that's okay. Thank you. So what I'll do now, we'll play about, 15-20 minutes of the Ubuntu podcast. It was kind of funny to listen to, self-explanatory. So I'm going to mute my mic, and then we'll start the Ubuntu podcast. Special thanks to the Ubuntu podcast, and a shout out to Martin Wimpress, one of the co-hosts, of course, the creator of Ubuntu Mate, and someone who I've had the pleasure of speaking to in the past, besides Martin Wimpress, is Alan Popey from Ubuntu. Okay, so now that we have the credits out of the way, give me a second here, and we'll play the Ubuntu podcast.
Time for some news, and first up in the news this week, the world's most expensive juice dispenser has been discontinued.
Ha ha ha. What a ludicrous thing this was. And everyone said it was ludicrous from day one, and now they've gone away, but they took loads of money. Anyway, what was it?
So this ludicrous thing I've never heard of. So what is it, and why is it ludicrous?
Right, so this was a device called the Juicero Juice Press, and the idea was that it was going to be like the sort of you get those coffee machines where you have the little single-use pods and you put them in and it makes you a coffee. Well, the idea was it was this, but for fruit juice. So you subscribed to these bags of, fruit, and you pressed them in your magical juice press, and you could only use the special bags in the juice press because of some DRM. And
oh my goodness!
And it made you some juice. And then they sort of got released, and they realised that it was just a bag of juice, and you could squeeze the juice out with your hands.
Or go to the shop and buy a carton of juice.
Or put fruit in your DRM-free blender.
Yes,
exactly. Yes, and so suddenly all of the people who'd put lots of venture capital into this went, "Oh, this probably isn't worth as much as we thought."
How did
all the people
diligence let it get this far, though?
The funny thing is, you can buy like a one of those juicer things, which is basically a spinning blade and a plastic bottle for 20 quid on Amazon. And I know, I have one, right? And it has two bottles. It's got a spare bottle and a lid, so you can put it on and take it to work and have the other one at home being washed up or whatever. And then you bring it back and swap them over. And that's 20 quid. This thing, okay, it's premium and you're getting juice, like bespoke juice from some bespectacled beardy scientist in Silicon Valley, maybe, or it's just a bunch of fruit smushed into a bag, which is what I think it actually is. But go on, tell us the price.
for a
$700 ludicrous dollars. It's ridiculous.
I wonder how many cartons of like Del Monte juice you can buy for $700.
I mean, for that amount of money, they could handcraft, and go out and pick the fruit by hand and smush them up and put them in these bags. Yeah, sure. But they probably didn't. It was probably just mass produced like anything else. But yeah, all it was just squeezing them. You're paying $700 for a machine that just goes and squeezes a bag into a cup.
Maybe if it made that spectacular noise, it would have sold better.
No, I think you have to pay extra for sound effects.
No, you have to say Mycroft squeeze juice. Then it'll go in Alan's voice for you.
All right, somebody make that happen.
Yeah, but that's all gone away, so that's good.
Oh yes, you can get a refund if you spent $700 on it. They will offer you a refund for the next 3 months.
Right, okay. So urgent news for 2038. So everybody stay alert right now. Lots of things are going to break due to time being stored as 32-bit integers in some Unix systems and in particular Linux itself. So what this means is that we've been counting seconds since the 1st of January 1970 to increment clocks in Linux and other places.
We've been counting. We haven't all been counting these computers. We've been outsourcing this counting to computers, and that's where it's all gone wrong.
Yes, we have outsourcing counting to Unix computers. This is the Unix epoch, the 1st of January 1970, and we will run out of bits at 3:14 and 7 seconds in the morning on the 19th of January 2038.
Do you think there'll be parties like Y2K like that? Will they only be nerd parties?
Yeah, just like beardy geeks sitting up all night to see if everything explodes.
Like things are going to actually explode.
This is how I spent my New Year's Eve as the new millennium rolled over, because we were all on watch to wait for the doom to happen. And in reality, we were all sat at home, bearing in mind this is 1999-2000, on modems, watching firewalls and things, sipping the last of the mulled wine, to spectacularly nothing happening whatsoever.
We were so confident that it was all fixed that I went out for curry. So I spent the entire evening with my friends in the local curry house. And that was very enjoyable.
So anyway, as I understand it, the BSD guys have already got stuck into this problem. And I think it's
they would do, wouldn't they?
It's a solved problem in BSD, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But we still need to do work in the Linux kernel and glibc and other places to stop it all breaking.
So is this any software which uses Unix time will need to be updated to make sure it's storing it as a more than 32-bit integer, basically?
Could it just use a 33-bit integer? Would that help?
Make all the difference.
Would it put it off for a few years?
Actually, it would put it off for
considerable amount of time.
Considerable amount of time.
Yes. Yeah. The delta between 1970 and 2038, I reckon, which is about 68 years.
So everyone should run into the streets, pant and panic right now.
Oh, well, I certainly won't be running out into the streets on the 19th of January 2038 because I'll be 66 years old.
Maybe if we learn about this stuff now, become experts in how tea time works in Linux, maybe this could be a retirement plan for us. Get Zimmer framed out of retirement for a couple of weeks to do some consultancy at extortionate rates.
Like all those COBOL programmers. Like all those COBOL came out of the woodwork in year 2000. Yeah. Let's do that. Moving on. Fans of gigantic non-exploding phones can rejoice because South Korean purveyor of slabs, Samsung, have launched the Galaxy Note 8, which features a whopping 6.3-inch screen.
That'll be fantastic. Stuart Langridge will be snapping one of those up. I hear he loves a big screen.
He loves screens that have to be held with 4 hands, yes. Yeah. It's so for those who don't remember, there was this problem with Samsung devices that blew up or caught fire or may have had a minor electrical fault at some point or not. But they were all recalled and some of the parts were recycled into other things. But there's a new device, and it's the Galaxy Note 8. It has some interesting features, I guess. It has their own voice assistant.
Of course it does.
Called Bixby.
It's rubbish.
And, okay, apparently only 30% of people, users have installed it. I don't know if that means installed it or actually used it. Because
the story I was reading was, I think this is on the Galaxy 8, which is the phone which is already out, and the 8 Plus, which already support it. It sounds like you had to install it or enable it.
Right, so it's not pre-installed like Siri and Google Now and those kind of things. Right, gotcha.
So on that Bixby thing, there's a YouTube channel. I'll say this slowly. It's called MKBHD. It's Marques Brownlee, and he reviews lots of tech, but mostly phones. And he did a comparison of all of the voice assistants recently.
Did he
and ran
use
them through
Mycroft
the same
as
series
well?
of tests. Unfortunately, not Mycroft, but I did reply to his comments and say, you didn't ask what are beans when you were doing this test, which is obviously the
canonical test. Yes,
yes, exactly. But if you want to see how these different voice assistants stack up, go and find his YouTube channel, and you can watch them all being put through the same round of real world tests. It's quite interesting.
So inside this phone, if you care, is a Snapdragon 835 with 6 gig of RAM, which sounds comparable to the OnePlus 3T. Yes.
Yes.
Storage goes as high as 256 gig, which is quite a lot.
It is more than most laptops. But it's more than my mum's new laptop.
Also, still has a micro SD slot, which you can put another 256 gig in.
Yeah. I think once you get over 128 gig, you don't need a second SD slot. It just gets confusing. Then.
Martin Wimpress says nobody needs more than 128 gig.
At the moment, I would prefer 256.
I will misquote you on that in 10 years.
Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah,
and the key feature is it doesn't explode, apparently.
Well, yet.
But it hasn't been sold. Nobody's bought them yet, so we can't really tell that. I feel bad for them in a way, because I've queued up at airports where there have been, there's been the signs that say queue here and the signs that say, fast lane. And then immediately next to those, there's no Samsung 8s on this flight. And it's like, wow, they've really screwed it up now. It's, I've never seen a specific make and model of device that's called out as verboten from flights.
Yes. And did you notice the adverts they did on TV for their phones after that were all videos of their QA testing?
Yes. Honestly, we do test this.
And in other phone news, the Essential phone is essentially irreparable.
Oh.
So, yes. So we spoke about the Essential phone a while back now. This is a new sort of high-end phone which was being sold as a sort of having expansion add-on things that you could attach to it, and iFixit have done their customary teardown of it to see how easy it is to get it apart and replace the various bits inside, and they have given it a 1 out of 10.
Is that bad?
It's lower than any other. I think the lowest flagship phone was something like I think the latest iPhone got a 4 out of 10, which is pretty bad, but a 1 out of 10. They had to do things like getting the front and the back off, which are both glass. They were
glass
glued
and ceramic, aren't they, or something?
Yeah, so they had. I think they were glued on, so they had to heat them up to melt the glue, but then they had to freeze the surface to stop it breaking, and then even then, they managed to shatter the screen while taking the screen off. So they did more damage to it while they would have been trying to repair something.
So this Essential phone is like the opposite end of the scale to the Fairphone. Really, the Fairphone is a big chunky piece of plastic that you can like stick your fingernails under and pull the whole thing apart, and this is not that, basically.
Not that at all.
And I've seen various reports. I mean, this Essential phone comes from Andy Rubin, the father of Android, which apparently means he can make phones.
Well, it means he can make phone operating systems.
Right, but that's clearly not the case, because all of the reviews I've seen of the Essential phone have been very meh. It's a nice enough phone, but there's nothing to write home about that you couldn't get in other devices. There's nothing that makes it essential. And the one thing that I've noticed a lot this year is a lot of people are really concerned about whether the phone that they buy is rated waterproof or not, like properly waterproof.
You know why, don't you?
Because the iPhone has it.
Well, actually, there's an astonishingly high statistic of people that actually damage their phones by dropping them in the toilet.
Right, but and I don't dispute that, but it's really bizarre that only in the last year suddenly that has been the feature that, oh no, I can't buy that, it's not waterproof. I was like, well, hang on a minute, every phone you've ever had has not been waterproof before this year. Why is that suddenly the single feature that defines whether you buy that phone or not? I don't understand it.
I solved that problem when we went on holiday this year. I found that on Amazon I could buy these 2 plastic pockets with like a seal that are like a big sort of necklace that you put your phone in, and it's in like this plastic vacuum packed seal.
Was this in the fashion part of Amazon?
Yes, yeah. I looked. I had to take my gold medallion off, obviously, before I put my phone around my neck, because otherwise I'd have looked ridiculous.
Of course.
Is it the same bit that you get the pocket protectors from?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's right next to the pocket protectors, and also those really nice little fold over clips that you put on your belt that you put your old flip phone in. It's in that section as well.
Yes.
But anyway, what you're able to do is these things are waterproof, and you can actually put your phone under the water and take photographs underwater and all the rest of it. And I got together with my family at the weekend, and several other family members had done this, and they were showing us their pictures they'd taken underwater of their phone in basically a plastic bag.
Nice.
So they took a picture of their phone underwater.
No, they were taking films and photographs underwater whilst they were scuba diving. And
so does it still conducts your touches through the?
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
Cool.
Yeah, and they're only about like £6 a pair or something, so they're not even an expensive add-on.
On my honeymoon, we went to the Maldives, and I had a waterproof video camera in a big plastic box that was sealed, and I took it underwater and I videoed loads of like tropical fish, and then bored everyone senseless for a year, showing them all this underwater footage, because I was like the only person I knew who had a camera that could go underwater, and I was videoing all this fish, and they were like, yeah, Alan, we've seen all this underwater fish and stuff now, which I think says more about my ability to create compelling video than it does about the usefulness of underwater video. Anyway, that's enough of the news.
Okay, now I think the mic is on, right? Yes. So that was a quick listen to the Ubuntu podcast of, I think it was last week. Faithful, Tasteless Harmony, episode 27. Yeah, I think it was season 10, episode 27. There is a newer one. Let's see here. Where is it at? Let me do this. Yeah, this is episode 28. I have not listened to this one. Momentous Sparkling Jellyfish. That's a nice picture of a jellyfish. And let's see. For this week's, they talked about adding LED lights to a home studio, the winner of the Entroware Apollo competition. Serve up some gooey love and go over your feedback. Looks like we have some cartoons here, the Ubuntu guys, whatever that is. Anyway, so yeah, this is one of the podcasts that I listen to, Ubuntu podcasts. And I also listen to mintcast.org. And sometimes I'll catch some of the Destination Linux podcasts. None of these podcasts, as good as they are, not really designed for newbies or beginners to Linux, in my opinion. Ubuntu podcasts will change things up, talk about some funny news items. But if you are completely new to the world of Linux, I don't think any of these will probably fit the bill. They're nice. I mean, they're quality podcasts, but for beginners, I don't really quite think so, at least not yet anyway. But Ubuntu podcast looks like 10 years, season 10, so great for them. The Linux Mint podcast, they've been going on for a while. I mentioned before mintcast.org. In fact, let's go to that real quick. They used to do them weekly. Okay, looks like they were back last week, the 11th. I'll have to take a listen to this. Why have we been gone? Yes, they were gone for a while. Let's see what topics they had real quick. Then I'll wrap this up for this evening. Alright, so they got some monthly news. Let's see. Space City weather. Hype free forecast for Greater Houston. Okay. What are you reading? And podcast announcements and stuff like that. So, anyway, yeah, check out mincast.org. Lance is in the house. Good evening. How are you? Charlie misses the old Nokias. Yep, I used to have one of those candy bar Nokias. They were reliable. This was before the advent of smartphones. But now Nokia is back with a new set of smartphones. In fact, let's go check them out real quick. Let's see, we have I Am Awesome 7478 is in the house. Welcome. Although you're coming in towards the end of this, but you're always welcome. Let's see what we have here. Let's see here. Alright. So it looks like the new Nokia 8. Nokia 6. Let's take a look at this and see what this looks like. Do this real quick here. Yeah, I guess they're also coming back with candy bar style phones. Let's see what the Nokia 8 looks like. I had asked Nokia to send me a test phone. I'd be happy to take a look at it. So if anybody from Nokia is listening, I've liked your products in the past. I think I like your new ones, but I don't know. Send me a phone. I promise I'll be fair. But it looks pretty good. Made with the ultimate craftsmanship. 40-stage process of machining to ensure distinctive design pairs flawlessly, I would hope, with 40 stages. Looks like different colors. And the dual sight mode. A first for mobile phones. The exclusive dual sight mode lets you use front and back cameras simultaneously for split screen photos and video. Well, that's cool. Looks like we have Zeiss optics. You having trouble with the did you hit that little bell icon 7478 that usually notifies you when something's going on? But you're welcome anytime. So yeah, Fidel Arnold, hello. Alright, getting back to this Nokia phone. Let's see, 13 megapixel dual image, autofocus, and the rest. Okay. Do I listen to Ask Noah? Charlie, I do not. I think I did it once. It seems okay, but yeah, I don't listen to all the podcasts. You know, I've yet to find one that's really designed for beginners, Charlie. I did 3 podcasts, Linux Newbies podcasts. I posted them on the Patreon page, but I didn't get much feedback. So maybe there's no need for it. But I have yet to catch or find a true Linux Newbies podcast. It just isn't out there. I'm belled up. Okay, cool. Alright, so 4K video with Nokia Ozo and 360 audio. That I would love to test that. Nokia, send me that phone. I promise I'll ship it back. I would love to test that phone because cell phone speakers, they suck. That's why I got this HTC One Max. Let me show you this. That's why I got this one still. You know, this thing is 4 years old, but look at the speaker at the top. I don't know if it'll show. There's a big speaker there, right there at the top, and a big speaker there at the bottom. And this sounds awesome. All phones, all premium smartphones should have speakers like that. Not on the back, not on the bottom, in the front. I know it's blurry, but that's the speaker there between the camera and the sensor. Yeah. Anyway. Charlie, you're still having issues with DLNA streaming, setup in Samba, working with Twinbox, still learning Linux. Okay. Well, I don't mess with that, but Charlie, which Linux distribution are you using? Okay, let's go back to here. So yeah, Nokia I think is going to be okay. Snapdragon processor, exceptionally long battery life. I believe it when I see it or when I read about it. Up to date, so Nokia 8 comes with Android Nougat, so I guess this will be a pure Android phone if I'm reading this correctly. And not like HTC leaving me stuck on Android 4.4. Anyway, that was a quick look at Nokia. So I think Nokia is going to be fine. They tried the Windows 8 phone or the Windows phone. As good as it looked, I thought it was newbie friendly. There just wasn't enough of the apps that people wanted. I think that's why it didn't do too well. But picking Android certainly is a better choice. Yes, the HTC One, the first came out with Beats Audio. I don't know what happened to HTC. They were the premier Android smartphone company. And then it changed. It probably started changing a couple years ago. The HTC One or the HTC 7, or at least the 8 and the 9 were the same. The HTC One Max that you see here, huge, was different. This was their first and only big phone. I believe it's 6 inches. That's what it looks like from far away. But they abandoned this. I'm still stuck on Android 4.4. So I don't know what happened to HTC. I really don't. They were on a roll, then they goofed. That's why somebody said HTC stands for help this company. But yeah, they don't make them. I don't think my phone's got the Beats Audio, but trust me, it sounds terrific. Anyway, I could crank up the volume all the way up and fill a room. But a lot of smartphones, you can't do that. Even these premium. I don't know if the $1,000 iPhone has better speaker or speakers. Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. But I don't know. Smartphone manufacturers seem to be allergic to sound. Anyway. Alright, so that's really all I had for this one. Ben, you posted something. What did you want me to do again? Real quick before I leave for the evening. For those of you joined late, we were listening to parts of the Ubuntu podcast. Yeah, help this company, yeah. We were listening to part of the last week's Ubuntu podcast because it was kind of funny. They picked some news that was news nonsense. That's why I thought I would share it. Again, I want to give a shout out to the Ubuntu podcast team. Martin Wimpress, the man behind Ubuntu Mate, Alan Pope from Ubuntu. I've had the pleasure of speaking to both of those gentlemen before. Complete pleasure to speak to. Anything else for this evening? Anything on the news? Anything on the news you want me to take a look at or that's on your mind? Because that's all I have for tonight. Again, if you missed any of this, you can replay it. The audio stream, I'll have it up on the Patreon page sometime this week. All right, Ben, I'll catch you next time then, yeah. Nothing else for tonight, guys? Then I guess I'm going to wrap this up. So once again, check out the Ubuntu podcast, ubuntupodcast.org. Mintcast.org is the other one I listen to sometimes. And of course, Destination Linux on YouTube. Arch stopped 32-bit support. Not surprising. Of course, that does leave, well, you should have other choices for Linux distros for older computers there, Ben. But yeah, it seems like more and more are dropping support for 32-bit. I think PC Linux OS has support still, Linux Mint. I think Ubuntu Mate still has support for 32-bit if I am not mistaken. I think Peppermint OS and some others. But yeah. Charlie using Debian 9.1 Mate right now. 6 weeks went from Mint Mate to Ubuntu Mate, now to Debian. So hey, thumbs up for Mate. Mate is great. Mate is great. Yeah, I'm liking my Linux Mint Mate and my Ubuntu Mate. I keep coming back to the simple things in life. I've tried countless distros, you know, from the simple ones to the ones that are totally jacked up. There was one from PC Linux OS that was a monster. A lot going on. I think there's Ultimate Linux that was really loaded. But I keep coming back to these simple ones because they are simple, they're easy to use, and they just work. And they don't, you don't get bogged down by heavy usage. Anyway, that's strictly my opinion, of course. Alright guys, I'm done for this evening. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the next one sometime in the future, so take care.